I'd like to call this meeting to order. The time is 7:22 PM. I need a motion to appoint an interim president pro tem.
So moved.
I'll make a motion to appoint trustee Brennan as an interim pro tem for the committee of the whole meeting dated February 4th, 2020. Second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Take over, Bill.
Thanks, Mike. I'd like to consider approval of the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on January 14th, 2020. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 3, review the cannabis survey results. Is that,
Donna?
Donna, are you taking that?
Yes. So we, the survey results in there for you, we had, as of. Right, can't do that. So we had a, we sent out the survey the first week of January 3rd, and we sent a card to all households via USPS carrier route and closed the survey on January 25th. We received 4,869 surveys with 51.53% or 2,509 responding yes, and 2,360 or 48.47% responding no. We had about 187, nearly 190 cards that were filled in the Village Hall. The rest were online through our electronic survey.
And Donna, the only, the non-residents were taken out of the total of the,
There
total
were
respondents?
very minimal, it's like 1% of them, but no,
Okay.
they are part of the total.
okay. Does anyone have any other questions regarding the survey?
It is closed now, you said, right?
It closed on January 25th.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Donna.
Sure, thank you.
Very good. Excellent. Dave, you need a motion to move anything to the board, or are we going to wait on the vote for the opt-in?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be a vote. I mean, if there wants to be discussion on next steps, I mean, this could be the time, or.
Okay. Anyone have any concerns, or do you guys want to?
What are the next steps,
What,
Dave?
yeah, that's my question.
Well, I guess that would probably be directed towards Paul. What would the next steps be?
If we wanted to opt in, you mean?
Yeah.
After that, I think.
Well, I think opt-in is one option, right?
Right, opting in, staying where we're at, which is right out, or in, right? And then if we want to go in, then we would have to talk about the zoning and those things, right? That come along with that. So, I mean, the next step is, if you want to further explore, I suppose, opting in, we could start coming back with, like, zoning questions or something like that you may have, you can direct towards us, Dave. I mean, if you want to further the discussion, right? I guess, and explore what that would look like vis-a-vis what you could do with your zoning, if you wanted to look at different levels, dispensary, infusion, craft cultivation. I don't know if there's a big enough place for cultivation, but cultivation, which is 210,000 square feet under roof, so. Those are really the 4 licenses that are out there right now being offered by the state of Illinois that would be opening those types of businesses. So I guess I suppose I could come back with a memo if you wanted to talk about what that zoning would look like and how you could open it up or restrict it, or, you know, the different options underneath that, if you wanted to further the discussion along.
Okay.
I mean, we could put this on a future agenda. Right now, you have the moratorium.
The results?
Back, but
Yep.
yeah, I think the goal was you wanted to see what the results of the survey were. So now, do you want to have a separate discussion on a future call about where to go with this?
Yeah, I think that would make sense. I mean, I forgot to mention that Trustee Glotz couldn't make it for work, so I think it'd be better discussion for the full board. That way we could all weigh in, so.
Do you want to do that, like, say, first one in March?
Yeah,
No, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead then.
it'll work.
Okay.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments regarding this item? Nope. Okey-doke. Thank you, Donna. Moving on to item number 4, discuss fiscal year 2021 pavement management program. A, motor fuel tax resolution, and B, motor fuel tax engineering agreement. Who's going to take that one?
Thank you, that's mine.
Colby, thanks.
Yeah, this year's P&P project includes 9.2 miles of local streets to be resurfaced by mill and overlay or heater scarification. Robinson Engineering has prepared a map and a list of streets to be included in this year's project. The village has always found success in bidding these projects early, which is our intent to do as well this year. So we're looking to get this project out to bid in the coming weeks. Attached, there's also the agreement with Robinson and the village to include preliminary design engineering field services for this year's PMP. The final costs of the agreement are in accordance with state requirements and will be based on a percentage basis of the awarded contract. Attached to these things are the memo from Robinson explaining the cost breakdown for the funding and the engineering from them. So with all these documents here, I'm looking for approval for the funding and professional engineering service agreement between the village and Robinson Engineering, and this to be directed to the village board for approval.
Very good. Excellent. Thanks, Colby. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Colby or any of the staff?
9.2 miles of streets, what percentage of our streets is it?
What percentage of, I'm sorry, what?
How many miles of streets do we have?
Is it altogether?
Yeah.
What is it, 200, yeah, 255. Yeah. John's got that in his head pretty good from what he's been doing, so, yeah.
So there's a difference between lane miles and center lane miles. Obviously, lane miles is as the car drives, and center lane miles is pretty much your definition of the center of the road. So, I guess the question is exactly what are you looking for here?
No, just what percentage of our roads are we going to replace with this?
9 divided by 300,
Oh, it's-
5%.
Yeah, I mean,
about 3%.
yeah, about 3%. I'd say I was going to say
2.5, 3%, yeah.
So it's, roughly 10 miles of 255, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, gotcha.
So, and this also includes the agreement with Robinson for?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
yeah, those are both included with these items.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
Nope.
Trustee Brady? Trustee Berg? Trustee Galante? Any questions?
Nope, not this time.
Okay. So you need a motion to move it to the board?
I do.
I'll make a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Item number 5. Discuss agreement between the Village of Tinley Park and Providence Bank and Trust consenting to the collateral assignment of the South Street redevelopment project. Who would like to take that one?
You want me to take this one?
yeah.
Yeah, so, apologize, I know this, came across late, there was a lot of back and forth on some emails as we were getting some stuff late this week. We've been working on this now, pretty feverishly for over about a week or so, and, what we're dealing with is, I'll just call it the South Street Partners, Bank, Providence Bank, as part of their loan, they were asking for an assignment. And basically what that means is that, what property can they attach out there if developer defaults on their loan? And in this case, we had a business development agreement in place that laid out how those properties were gonna be turned over under the TIF agreement, so forth and so on, and in what phase it would get after it completed it. And I think you were all made aware of that when we entered the business development agreement. So we just had to clean up a lot of back and forth between the bank and really us, the village. The bank was really non-responsive for a few days, but we finally got them what we wanted to do. They agreed to our version of the assignment, and really what we wanted to make sure was, at the end of the day, was that things that are gonna become village property or are village property cannot get attached if there's default on the loan. And so, in Mr. Conley's terms, he would say, the consent to the collateral assignment of the development agreement from the developer to Providence Bank. Such agreements are the common as construction loans and are often secured by development agreement and the underlying property. The redevelopment agreement, the RDA between the village and South Street, contemplated collateral assignments and indicated the village would consent to assignment of the rights as well as the obligations. So if they took the assignments, they had to take the obligation with them. The initial drafts of this agreement had provisions that will allow the lender to claim the assignments, meaning the TIF money and benefits, without the obligations, i.e. finishing the project or wherever it may be. The agreement before you tonight requires the lender to, or subsequent purchaser to assume the obligations of the agreement if they want the benefits. So that was one of the changes that we insisted on, that they acquiesced in at the end of the day, and that was a big one for us. As noted above, the lender has created a mortgage lien by way of a loan. Normally, a bank would lien all of the property on a given property secured a construction loan. That was not an option here, as both the village and the developer's property is somewhat intermingled throughout the development, with certain parcels are set to change hands at certain dates. The village sought to ensure that the property it owned would not be encumbered at the time they took ownership, or any foreclosure action on that parcel to be controlled by the future, and could be controlled by the village in the future, would be taken on, the RDA cannot be assigned without an assumption of the obligations, thus ensuring the village would have unencumbered ownership and ability to enforce completion of the development of that parcel of subsequent purchasers. So those were the two big issues, and now they've agreed to both of those. So what we're looking for the board tonight on the consent agenda is to move forward so that developer can get their loan and continue on with the project, and not have a slowdown or a stoppage in work. And at the end of the day, we were able to achieve the things to protect the village.
Very good. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
The property of the village is, well, it's parking lot, correct? Isn't it parking and?
It's kind of the third phase, so think about sidewalks that they're gonna build out there, and it's gonna turn over to us. I think, Brad, we had talked, and Dave, at the end of phase one, they would get lot number 2. At the end of phase 2, they would turn lot number 3, which is the parking lot, back over to the village, and that would be, the village parking lot. So the idea was, whatever's supposed to be turned back over to the village cannot be encumbered by the bank if there was a default at any point in time, and that's what we were able to achieve.
Very good.
So the village is protected.
From what
Right.
specifically? There's 3 pins, correct? What is RDA? I don't see the
The
definition.
redevelopment agreement,
Thank you.
yes,
That's the one that we agreed to on June 4th, I believe.
correct.
Some of you did, yes.
No, June 4th, we were all here.
I did not vote for it.
Yes.
Um,
We approved it as a board, though.
Yes, that's correct. I was overrun. What about any documents from the bank forthcoming? I have not seen any of those. I know we just discussed it, but is anyone else concerned that we've not seen anything from Providence Bank itself as to the amount of loan that they are taking out? And
I guess from my perspective, that's between the bank and the developer.
And I don't even know if they would have to give it to us. I mean,
Correct.
really, what we were worried about the assignment. Whatever he's borrowing, they're borrowing. If the bank wants to loan it to him, that's their business.
Yeah, I don't see how we could get into someone's personal,
I think we kind of
not
asked around
personal,
for that.
business partners.
well, I mean, we're giving them an incentive. It's their project ultimately, though, and I don't think, we've already agreed to their redevelopment agreement, like I said, as a board, so, I don't see how we can get into their personal, business financial matters. As long as the village is protected, so.
That's what they accomplished.
Right. So,
So you're confident that we will not have any problems with it defaulting?
I
Well,
think
we
what
can't
we're-
predict, I can't predict the future if they're gonna default on
Well,
their loan or
you just
not.
said we will not have any problems, right?
What I'm saying here tonight is that they cannot encumber or attach village property. Whether they default on their loan or go bad or go bankrupt. I can't predict that.
But the-
What I did
the
was
risk
protect the
is-
village.
Yeah, the risk is not on the village.
No,
No.
no.
The risk is on them and then whatever amount it is that they're loaning that we don't know. Correct?
It's their loan, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to bring this to the village board later this evening.
Is there a second? Thank you, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay. That motion carries. Item number 6. Discuss parking agreement for English Garden, 16800 Oak Park Avenue.
Good evening. So we have English Garden there on Oak Park Avenue. Similar to a recent project that we dealt with, the vet clinic on Oak Park Avenue. They're off of a village street that dead ends, and their parking is encroaching in the village's right-of-way. It's just how it was built a long time ago. So when they came in for their special use, we acknowledged this, and as a matter of cleaning up, we want to make sure that the village is indemnified from any things that may happen to that parking lot, so that this agreement mimics what we did with the vet clinic. Essentially, they can have their parking on our right-of-way, but they will be responsible for maintaining it, and they'll be indemnifying the village for any liability purposes. So this is just a way to clean this up. Maybe down the road, we might vacate this road if we never foresee it being needed, but for now, it is a public street. They have their parking partially on it, so this is just a simple agreement, making sure the village isn't responsible for any of the items that might happen there.
And they'd still be responsible for plowing, everything
Correct.
like that.
Maintaining it,
Yep.
striping it, paving it,
Right.
that's all on them.
Right.
Mhm.
All right, very good. Thank you, Kimberly. Does anyone have any questions, concerns regarding this item? No. All right. very
Do you
good.
need a motion for this one, Kimberly, to bring it to the board? Yes, please. So I'll make a motion to bring the parking agreement for English Garden.
I'll second it. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kimberly. Item number 7, discuss civil service rules and regulations.
I got that, thank you.
There
Good
she is,
evening.
I was looking for you.
Here I am. I moved. Comprehensive changes to the civil service rules and regulations haven't been made since their adoption in 1997, with only minor changes created since that time. The proposed changes that were made address updates in technology in the last 24 years, with email as an acceptable form of notification to candidates, onboarding of new commissioners with more substantial guidelines and addressing issues like telephonic meeting participation. In addition, changes included the proposal of 5 experience preference points for lateral hires, and those Illinois certified officers who could demonstrate having attended academy would be eligible for those points. In the summary memo, I provided an option to reduce those points and provided a brief cost savings analysis. The rule changes also require personal interviews for police hiring and make it optional for non-police positions. The split list portion is that if there were times when we received hundreds of candidates for police, the rules could specifically allow us to interview the top 20 candidates or whatever number the commission allowed to get through the list quickly, and they would stay on one list, however. Finally, the changes proposed to allow the commissioners to send applicants to additional testing, if unclear, in order to meet accommodation when necessary to do the job. This would allow additional testing for those applicants with medical conditions. For example, if we received results of an applicant with partial color blindness, the current rules don't provide for a way to send the candidates for any advanced testing. And if we just assume somebody is able to perform the job, it could be an ADA or discrimination protection violation. So instead, the new rules would include a way to screen ahead of time with additional testing when needed. And HR would work with the commission and our village attorney to ensure compliance. It should be noted, though, if it's not part of the initial process, there are concerns after hire, the chief does have the option to send for fitness for duty. So with the comprehensive changes to the rules and regulations, we're seeking Board of Trustee approval so that they're fully countenanced under Home Rule Authority. And if approved or move ahead tonight, then an ordinance would be prepared to allow the use of Home Rule Authority to adopt the updated civil service rules and regulations.
Thank you, Denise. I think this is, you know, you guys have done a good job of updating a lot of our codes and ordinances to, you know, in the last, I don't know, just 6 months, there's been a lot. So I think this is good as far as kind of getting some of our police officers that are already trained, that are kind of going through our testing processes onto the street quicker, and, you know, helps with, you know, with the hiring process for chief. So I think this is a good move. Does anyone else have any questions? Want to start down
No
there with
questions,
Cindy?
but thank you, Denise and Chief Walsh. That was a lot of labor-intensive work on your part, and we really appreciate expediting more officers on the street for our safety, as well as everyone in the village. Thank you.
So I apologize, I didn't get a chance to ask before this meeting, but for the current register, are we allowed to change the rules for the point system, or is it, do you have to have this stuff in place before we can apply it to the current register?
Yeah, this stuff would have to be applied. The current rules don't provide for those lateral points.
Correct.
I mean, there are other points that, you know, are applicable, but we don't have a lateral point system. So, and in the current list, we have several already certified officers, so it might have made a difference in moving some people up or down. You know, in a perfect world, if we had in excess of 100 or 200 applicants, and you had some people who didn't score well on the test, and they could be moved up with the experience preference points.
So it doesn't help with the current, but for the next time?
No, we already have an eligibility register.
Right, okay.
We have 29 applicants. So if we move through that pretty quickly, and this moves forward, then we can get that on for the next list.
Gotcha, thank you.
Do you have any questions? All right,
Mark answered our question.
very good, okay.
So you're just looking for,
You need a motion?
Yeah,
Just-
move it ahead.
Say it again?
Yeah, motion and move it ahead to board meeting.
Okay.
I would approve.
I'll make a motion to move to the board. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. All those in favor?
aye?
Aye. Opposed? No one. The motion carries. Thank you, Denise. Item number 8, receive comments from the public. Comments from the public? Come to the podium. Could you step to the podium?
Hi, I'm Kim McCullough from An English Garden, and I just opened up my second flower shop here in the town, so I just wanted to say thank you and make you aware of me, in case some of you have not been. I was told to come in at 8, so I'm sorry if I'm a little bit late. If you have any questions or anything for me, please do so, ask whatever you need, okay?
Very
Sounds
good.
great. Thank
I
you
just
for
want to
your
let you know I'm here.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the board? Sure. Comments?
So, for the cannabis, are you just going to consider zoning, or are you going to do feasibility studies? Or how is this going to work?
Well,
Sounds like you're just going to consider zoning.
well,
No.
I guess
I guess if you're looking over to me, I think they were wondering what next steps were, and I think one of them I suggested would be a zoning. I don't think they've,
Approve that.
I think it's still up for discussion. One of the things they could discuss is zoning amongst other
Okay.
things, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So is there a committee that's going to be formed?
it'll be the
Or how does
committee,
this work?
it'll be the committee of the whole, which will,
Committee of the whole.
the whole board will weigh in on that. The state law is just an opt-in, so
Right.
that's really, are we going to opt in to the sale of marijuana in the village? That's really the only question to be asked of
Or
the
opt
board.
out.
And if we,
Okay.
and then if we opt in,
We're out now.
depending on the board's decision, then there would be the question of the zoning.
Okay,
So it's, right now, there's a moratorium on the issue right now. so.
okay.
That's right.
Please.
I'm sorry, I came in a little late, I apologize. I didn't hear the results of the survey. What were the recent results of the marijuana survey?
Is it on this, is there a slideshow? Can you throw them back to it?
There was,
So
No.
51% said yes?
51 point, oh,
Yes, and 48.47% no.
Okay, so then, does that mean the village is gonna go forward on that? And if we do, just curious, I know the taxes can't be used for federal projects, but what would the taxes be used for in the town?
That would, I mean, yeah, that's kind of ahead of the game right now. We haven't even voted on the issue yet, so it'll, excuse me, it'll still come to the board to vote on that.
Okay,
So
one
the-
other thing, being that it's a cash-only type of business, would the village consider having, extra security there? Because it's cash only.
They supply their own.
that would be up to the
That'd be up to them.
individual.
Yeah, if you read the state law, it's very onerous on the business operator. So if the village were, and we're still in the discussion phase, to be clear, so the next time this comes back up, it's gonna be further discussion, but, for example, if the village were to approve, they have to go in certain areas, they have to have cameras, they have to have security. And it's not all cash, because there are some state banks that are accepting those clients now. So there's an
Okay.
opportunity to have, now, you'd have to have an account with that approved state bank that they do business with, but there is, in theory, a way to do, if it's not a federally interstate bank, if it's just a state bank, they could not, they don't have to take cash.
Okay, I'm just curious, because
Yeah.
I work close to the one in work, and I
If you
see the
go
line
into,
out there daily. with
yeah, if you
security.
go into the state statute, you can read it. In fact, it's pretty onerous on the operator, and they have to put forward, and I think they get like 20 or 30 points just on their security plan alone. So it's a big portion of their approval process.
Has anyone applied to seek one of those here in our town?
Currently, we've opted out because of the time has passed, so we'd have to opt in, so we're in the moratorium period.
Okay.
But if the village were to have a further discussion and decide to go that route, then we'd be open for applications, but there's no reason to put one in, so no one has.
Okay, thank you.
You can approach the podium. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I thought the postcard in the mail was lovely. It looks like, how many people are in Tinley? I'm sorry, I'm kind of new. So how many people did it reach?
58,000. I
58,000?
don't know what the reach was, but there's 57,600.
And we got about 56,000, and we got about almost $5,000 responses. How much did it cost to send that out? Do you know?
Uh,
About $5,000? Okay, I just wondered. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments for the committee of the whole? Let the record reflect there are none. I'd like to close the committee of the whole. Make a motion to close the committee of the whole.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Closed.
There'll be a 2-minute reprieve between the end of the committee of the whole and the beginning of our village board as we're transitioning our technology.